What's up, guys, and welcome back. This is the Tahyira show on YouTube. Happy February to you. Happy Black History Month to you. I'm recording this video on the last day of Black History Month. It's February 28th. Tomorrow's March 1st, Women's History Month. So it's a lot of stuff going on either way. For people like me anyway, I'm a Black and woman. But I wanted to share this video with with you guys to show. So I made a list of 10 things that I learned this Black History Month that I want to share with you guys here. Here we go. Number 1, America is getting what it deserves. How reactive behaviors never could yield new responses. We live in a country that I now call a corporation. It's not even like a country anymore. We're a corporation. Literally, my song Memories, that's the basis of that song. It's like, Dare America only cares if you're a brand. Right? They don't care about dying people. They don't care about students. They don't care about mental health. They don't care about soldiers. They don't care about nobody. You know, they only care about money and power and having control over others. That's literally how our systems have set up. You know, our criminal justice system says that you have to, even if you're innocent, you need to pay to get out. And it's like, what? Like, you know? So that's just the main thing I learned with Black History Month. A lot of Black Americans, you know, it's like I'm third generation fighting for Black Lives Matter and all this crap that we're still doing. It's like, it's the fact that we're never going to stop doing it because we're on a cycle. You know what I mean? We take one step forward, we take 1,000 steps back. Like, you know, John Lewis and everybody and whatever. Half of these people are dying out and we still talk about them. Like, people still talking about Martin Luther King and how he's important. That means we're not moving forward, you know? If the last 50 years y'all still talking about the same stories and Black people have seemingly gone worse, like in the pandemic right now, it's like more Black people, you know, we're always just on that mark. We're not going higher, we're going worse. Every time America hits some type of issue, it's the Black people that fall all the way down to the floor every time. Even if we're trying to get up, it's like back down. Then we go back down, you know what I mean? It's like basically everybody is already a slave in this country because when you work, it's like you're on a plantation, essentially. You don't have rules, you don't have rights. Look, you're waiting right now for them to make a decision if you should get a stimulus check. It's not a democracy. It's a corporation. You know what I mean? It's a corporation. So, and the reason it's a corporation is because our systems are reactive to everything. Proactivity could change that. But to be proactive, you need to not be like greedy. You need to be like innovative, which is the opposite of greed, which is what we see in business, right? People who are greedy, it's like you're not really doing anything. You're selling Chinese shit and putting an extra price on it, making money here. That's greed. Innovative is like addressing a problem, building something that never existed before, inventing, and you know, which a lot of people were able to do in the pandemic. Me, for like my business, for example, I was able to provide jobs for people because everyone's working from home anyway, you know? Innovative. Before the pandemic, I couldn't do that because we just didn't have that space. So that's just one example of, you know, what I learned this month. Black History Month, I've been paying a lot of attention just with history, and I'm like, you know, we're never going to get out of here if the storyline still, Lincoln said the slaves were free, but it took them all these days and months, and the storyline, like basically the story, you know, we don't even learn it in school. We have to, like, I learned half of these things after college. So it's like I already paid for an education, didn't learn anything I needed to know. So we're here. So we're reactive, you know, we're really, really reactive. The stock market reflects that, if you guys can't notice, you know. Number 2, something that I didn't really learn, but something now that I know more confidently, is that you can change laws in a country, but you cannot change hearts. You could tell somebody, hey, it's illegal to storm the Capitol, like, know that it's illegal. But if someone's heart is intended on getting and doing things, most of the time when you're promoted by something, fear, like something's pushing you because you're scared to, and it's like, no, I'm so scared I have to do this, you know, it creates this environment that we now live in right now. Like, you know, Black History Month, I heard a lot of people saying, what if Obama would have sent the Black Lives Matter activists after Trump when Hillary Clinton lost? Like, I heard people saying that, and I'm like, what? The fact that y'all have to even say that as something that could happen, it's like, they already kill Black people for no reason, right? So what are we saying right now? It's not just if it was Black, if it was any other race majority that was non-white. If it was a bunch of Asian people doing it, it would have been an issue. If it was a bunch of religious people like Jews or Muslims or anybody in that way, it would have been a whole thing. We seen what happened with Black Lives Matter Plaza late last year in the summertime. So we already saw it happen to another group of people, and it was white people that they put the gas thing on, because all kinds of races march for Black Lives Matter. It's a human rights issue, not a race issue, right? So we just see it right now. We see it right now. And at the end of the day, what happened on January 6th, I want people to be clear about. Black people, Black History Month, they're scared of us having power. The reason they stormed the Capitol is because of Kamala Harris, because of us promoting the fact that the people in Georgia and Stacey Abrams and people were able to change the way it was in Georgia. That is the fear that they don't have power anymore as white people, because they're not going to be in the majority. In California, they're not going to be. There's more Spanish people, hence the reason why they think they're coming to jump over nobody's coming there. People been from there. Half the time, I mean, in the reality, our country took the top part of Mexico and called it America. That's why California, Los Angeles, all those places are Spanish already. Los Angeles is not an American word. It's a Spanish word. So it's like, we got to just be mindful of the shit that they're trying to spin around here. Pay attention to what it is, what it is that you're dealing with, and the place in which you're living. I want people to be mindful that times are changing and your mindset needs to apply to that too. Number 3 lesson I learned in Black History Month: life is what you make it, right? There's days I go on my Instagram feed and I'm like I'm talking personally now, I'm super like into whatever's going on. It's like a good news day. I have like, you just feel that mood, the sun shining or whatever. And then there's other days where it's like snowing and it's like, oh my gosh, it's so cold outside. You don't even want to leave your bed, Life is what you make it. There are days where it's cold and I'm like, you know what? I gotta just still do my work. I still need to edit my videos and whatever. And it's like, whatever. I put my mind in a different space. Like right now I'm on a beach in Trinidad. They don't know that this is where I am. I'm sipping a rum soda. Like, it's whatever. Your life is whatever you make it, On the other hand, if you want to sit there and sleep and smoke mad weed and just be depressive and just it's okay to not be okay. That's part of life too. You have permission to do whatever you want. I feel like, the pandemic has created, especially people like me, where it's like, well, I don't know, I guess I'm gonna just do this because what's everybody else. And it's like, no, you still have control, It may not be as much control you used to have, but you still have control over your mind and over the things that you do. A quote that I've been holding, I think it was Joel Osteen I heard, and I heard a few other people say it just in content in February. We don't know how important the people we spend our time, or how we spend our time. It's not so much people sometimes, but people too. How we spend our time, the people we spend our time with, the energy and the environments that we're around shapes the people that we become. That is an important thing. So you're working in an environment that's toxic. You used to work in an office that was toxic. Now you're working at home. Yes, you're in the same position, but now it's not as toxic because now you're controlling the environment at least. Whereas at work, you can't pick your office and whatever. It's like you go wherever they gave you the office. So those types of things is what I'm trying to say. When we're entering back into the world post-pandemic, remember those little, those little things that you thought you can control, but then you learned to do it just because the pandemic kind of forced that. I learned that. Number 4, and this is something that people tell me all the time, is like, oh, you'll hear me speaking outspokenly or angrily or like, about everything that's going on. People not getting their stimulus check, people suffering just in general. Like suffering is an issue that I have with whatever. And people are like, well, you can't change it, so it's whatever. Just because you can't change something does not mean that you can't speak about it. There are many times when I was young where my circumstances were like, well, there's nothing that I could do right now. But it's not the freedom that I've always found and empowerment within myself to rise up out of situations that you feel you have no control over is speaking about them, right? Empowering your voice. I'm always big on use your voice and things like that. Like, I'm not saying you don't have to share it all the time, but writing, journal, get it out though. Like, stop. Don't be sheepish in your own life. You got to wolf your way through, or at least your own life. If you can't defend others, that's fine. Defend yourself though. Be able to stand there and defend yourself. Be able to see energy that's negative coming towards you before it reaches to you, so you can hit the corner and make a move and whatever. Have that kind of awareness about yourself. That's something I did in Black History Month. I was able to, slow down and have more control over my like everyday movements, where it's like, and that's because I don't have to go to a job, go to an office, I'm in control of everything right now. So it's like, no, I'm not about to do that. About to just wait. Yes, I saw you, call me, I'll call you. Just having that more control and being happy with it, being okay with things. That's another thing. It's like, I like to sleep calmly at the end of the night. Like, I smoke weed to make my thoughts in clear, but I don't like to go to bed thinking like, oh my God, I should have sent that email differently or whatever. I don't like that, So it's like, right away, like that happens. Like I send an email and I'm like, damn, that came across really bad. Right away when I recognize it's like, hey, I sent you an email earlier. This is how I actually meant to say it. Sorry if it came off, whatever. You can call me if it's anything and just whatever. just have that more control. So I learned that. Number 5, we have to be tough. We have to be vigilant, right? I know a lot of people are tired of hearing it, tired of dealing with it. I'm tired too. Trust me. Don't think I just don't have a choice, right? I'm a Black woman in America. I live in New York City. I run a business. I'm a wife. I have friends who have children. I have younger people in my family who look up to me, right? It's like I have to talk about sensible things because there's people watching me and we don't have time to talk about nonsense. Be tough. Be hard. Tell your kids the reality of what it is, because we're not doing anybody a favor by sugarcoating. I feel like part of being reactive, which is my point number 1 is America as a whole, is because we like to sugarcoat so many things. We're not able to sugarcoat anything in the pandemic because numbers don't lie. And I think that's what caused a lot of people to just stop and look at everything. We're not able to sugarcoat what happened with Robin Hood because numbers don't lie. And it's like situations don't lie. When the everyday man starts to compete with the 1%ers, everything seems to be different. But we can see everything that's happening because it's happening in real time. Thank God for the internet. Shout out to Twitter. It's not really our responsibility to blame the education system in America when we already see that they never wanted Black people to even have education or to speak or to communicate with each other and then them to think independently. That's when nothing that was a part of their constitution, none of that stuff. We just have to walk with that. Like I say, knownness, awareness, knowledge, use the history, everything that happened. I watched the LA 92 riots. I lived in that same neighborhood. I didn't even know, like in Koreatown. And I mean, you could feel it. And I would talk to a bunch of Koreans. And those are like my closest, like you could say, clique when I would like hang out in the bars and stuff. And I'd be like, oh my God, you guys are so cool. Like they really embraced me. And it's like, there is a closeness between like South Koreans, obviously, right? South Koreans and Black people in America. And it's from that time. So I watched the documentary about like a week and a half ago. And I'm like, wow, I'm literally watching like Normandy Avenue. That was the block I lived on. And just everything, that whole story and what happened. And it's always like, be aware, understand. Like, it's not just what America tells us about the story, because remember, they're reacting to what we did, right? George Floyd got killed, then everyone reacted to it. George Floyd got killed in a system that America already knows exists. So it's not like they're reacting to something. They can change that right now. They can hot fire all racist cops right now. Make it illegal to, if you have one racist thing in your background, you're out of here. Because there's tons of new people that want to be cops. It's not like, it's like nurses. There's a lot of them, so that's just one example of like things like that. So do your research. Never be scared to go and do your own research. Never be scared to challenge authority. Never be afraid to use your own mind. Number 6, really understand that Black Lives Matter and change your mood up. Like we're no longer in a position, like I said, because of what happened and what keeps happening. We're not in a position to just like, I mean, you can do whatever you want to do, right? You're watching this video, but we're not in a position. You're not helping your race, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. When you're not doing the most you can do as a Black person to push everybody forward. It's nothing that I do. That's why I'm up on this YouTube. Because, yes, there's tons of YouTuber creators, but how many of them are Black? How many of them are educated? How many of them are outspoken? You know what I mean? Like, we have to fill every space. That's the least that we could do. Like, this is what I'm doing here for free, So that's the least that I could do to help my entire generation, millennials, Gen Z, whoever is coming up behind me, even the people who are older than me that need help. It's like education. It's like mental health. Like, I know you guys are suffering with a lot of things. It's generational. How'd you know that? Because they taught us in school. They taught us about neurotransmitters and all these things. Like, this is how we grow. The young gotta help the old gotta help the young. But if we don't learn to like see those levels and see how our strengths in those levels, then I don't think we're gonna go much further as like a community. We have a responsibility, if you're a Black American, to act that way. Like, when I'm in a white environment, I'm like, let's go. Like, you know what I mean? Even though most of the time nothing happens. I went to school, like I said, all white school. Nothing happens because it's 2021. But at the end of the day, I have that awareness though, everywhere I go. I learned that from Cicely Tyson, women like Maya Angelou. I remember I have this post on my Instagram right now. Cicely Tyson talks about going to some spot in Hollywood when she's like younger. And the woman told her to like go through the back. She didn't even recognize her. She had already got nominated for like Oscars and stuff. She was known already, right? She was going to meet with a reporter in a hotel. And the woman's like, I'm just asking you where it is. Like, you're telling me to go to the back. Like, I'm not a coat check girl or whatever. And she said she took the time to tell her, like, not everybody that looks like me is in a position of servitude. And it's like, yeah, she didn't have to do that to that white girl back in Hollywood. But because she did that, she opened the door for people like me to be in Hollywood. So I'm going to open a door for people like y'all to be in Hollywood or wherever the doors are. You know, I did it at CW Post. I'm a Black student. I got into this really prestigious internship. The school didn't want to let me take the internship because I had to get a letter to say that the internship would let in other CW Post students because I was the first one. I'm like, why I got to help white kids get into something their parents can't just pay? But I had to do it. It is what it is. I know there's Black students and I know that we're able to do the same thing now, you know? So it's like, yeah, be a pioneer in whatever way you can be, because it's not enough of us out here doing the work that needs to be done. Number 7, know your worth. As a woman, a Black woman, Black History Month, you know, there's a lot of Black women in history who they've tried to like just write out, right? And it's because, again, the same thing. They don't want to show us. They don't want the next generation to be empowered, right? We want the next generation to be empowered. You can see it in our content. You can see it in our music. You can see it in our TV shows. Judas and the Black Messiah, Black Panther, all these things that's just like Blackish, young, grownish, young, I'm like youngish, mixedish, just like the content, you know what I mean? Things that's winning right now. Zendaya and Euphoria, all these stories that we're telling, Malcolm and Marie. It is what it is. T-slaves. Whatever, you know, whatever stories you're telling. We're filling the space storytelling wise. Just know your worth. Like a boss, Tiffany Haddish. It's just like a lot of just Black people out here really owning it, really calling out what it is. And like I think that's the industry I operate in, entertainment. So it's like Hollywood, music, whatever. But whatever the other spaces are, and there's a lot of Black educators talking about what's going on right now, you know, since COVID and stuff like that. Like, just know your worth. Know that we work twice as hard to get half as far, and we should act that way. You know, it's the 3rd generation of dealing with this in America. We can't just be like, oh, thank you so much for hiring me. It's like, no, you should have hired me because obviously I'm qualified. I'm actually overqualified, and this is the salary that I want. You know, like we gotta talk about it. I mean, right now I'm like building my business, expanding it, whatever. I'm like looking for loans, and I'm looking for just financial stuff. And I come across a lot of white males, because that's the people who have the money in our country. They ask me straight. They're like, wow, Tahyira, you have a lot of confidence. Like, I'm behind you just because of the confidence that you exude. I'm like, oh, thank you. You know, and I did learn that in college. I went to an all-white school, so I already saw how white people reacted to me in that environment. So it's not new, you know? But pushing myself, though, right, is like, sometimes I look like Doja Cat on the video with the insoles, but so what? It's like, I want to be a boss. You know, this is what it is sometimes. You got to be around, you know what I mean? Just push yourself, know your worth, know your value. And I think we're going to be like really, really good in the next 10 years. Number 8, similar to the last point, know your value, also understand making space. Or maybe not point number 7. I think point number 6 is more like this, but making space for other people who look like you, you know? So outside of just being T-slaves, one of the things that I love creating is that I'm like, you know, I created this new like creative brand that, you know, we can create all these different types of arts and photo shoots and music videos and visuals and whatever, storytelling in this music fun kind of way, you know? And I'm like looking at like young Black ballerinas and step team people and just little versions of myself. You know, that's just something that just excites me for myself, like in my friends and my peers. I'm able to like help like fashion for my friends who are like in fashion and stylists and get their stuff. And, you know, we just get to create like that whole Issa Rae network across, you know. I have like stories and I'm writing Black stories. So I'm like, I'm the writer. I want this actress or this actor, this Instagrammer, influencer to play this role or whatever. Like, do you know what I mean? Getting people to actually shine. Making space for others, you know, for us. I run my brand. That's my California nonprofit. Making space in that, like highlighting Black businesses and stuff like that. Like doing our part in that kind of way. Like let's talk about support. Let's just put it out there for people. Like this is what it is. We gave you all the information. It's up to you. You know, we're on Clubhouse. We're on podcasts and just making space. Literally making space. So make space. It's never gonna be like, oh my God, somebody else got another podcast. Let the white people say that. We can make as much as we want because we need to fill the space. Shout out to Michael Phelps for bringing awareness to mental health. This month I've noticed a lot of just Talkspace ads. He's been outspoken, him and his wife, just about the pandemic and being a parent and being like a dad. And he suffers a lot. You know, Michael Phelps smoked weed and he got in trouble with that after, you know, he's an Olympic champion. But just saying, like, you know, Black history is American history, but when it comes to mental health, it's not even a Black thing. It's literally like we're living in a mental health crisis. And again, it goes back to like the pandemic thing is like, well, we're living in a crisis. Black people are always going to be affected more. And you know what I mean? It's just that. But mental health is important, even for me. There's days where I'm like, I need to create. And where I would have pushed myself, even though I don't feel good, now it's like, no, like check to see, well, why you don't feel good? You said you wanted to be an artist and whatever, so why you don't feel good to create? And you go into that whole thing. Like it takes me a lot, right? But I feel better when I come back in front of the camera, when I back on the mic or whatever. I feel what I never used to feel. I feel like the feeling I was chasing before, for mental health, before that awareness of like knowing that I have like bipolar disorder, or I'm prone to manic episodes or things like that, you know? Before I knew all that information, I would just be going and no type of check, you know? Now it's like, wait, you didn't fall asleep so calm last night. Maybe you should just like chill. Like, you know what I mean? Like, whatever. Mental health. It's important for all of us, you guys. Like, like I say, Michael Phelps is talking about it for just America. I'm talking about it for Black America. We have a lot of generational things that we're fighting, a lot of us in our family. It's like, you know, I know that's what's holding a lot of people back. You guys know I have my podcast out. I put out 2 episodes in February, so you guys can go check that out. I'll put the link down below. But mental health is always something that I'm talking about all the time for Black History Month. I saw a lot more people posting about mental health, so that was cool to see. I shared as much as I could. So yeah, again, fill that space too, you know? Bipolar disorder, anxiety disorder, schizophrenia, depression. We're prone to it. And number 9, so this is like kind of pulled from like after I watched like Judas and the Black Messiah, Harry. I watched like a bunch of Black movies this month just in general. I watched the LA 92 vibes, went back and watched Black Panther again, and I like jump around, right? I watched like lit where we're empowered, and then like stories that make us like sad. I watched Malcolm and Marie and all these types of things. So be proud to be Black. Be proud to be a Black American, because it's a symbol of strength, right? It's a symbol of love, of self, walking out every day holding your head high, having Black babies, falling in love with a Black person. Like, you know, it's pride. It's pride in a country where we shouldn't have any, you know? Like, it's hard to say like Black Lives Matter and then like, oh, now we're mad lit. But yeah, because they've been trying to erase our race for a very long time in this country, yet it's 2021 and we still stand. So I think a lot of pride. Like, I watched Queen and Slim again, also with my husband for the first time. He never watched it, and he like was super into it. And I'm like, I told you it was lit. Like, but be proud that, you know, we are able to tell these kinds of stories at the very least. It's lit to be Black, and they still know that. And my final point is, leave your mark on history. Be a part of Black history. It's important that not only we share the stories of our past, like the woman who I learned make the pastry fork, and I'm like over here watching all these cupcake wars. I'm like, these little kids don't even know, these little white kids don't even know that they're using this pastry fork, and it's because of a Black girl. So things like that. When I run the Red Eye Media Group, it's very clear. I'm trying to make it clear that it's an independent media site run by Black people, Black person. I have white writers, I have all kinds of writers from different countries and things like that, but it's owned by me. I'm the executive, I'm the editor-in-chief. It's my creativity, it's my ideas. I like to collab with a lot of people, and I'm, again, making space for a lot of white writers in America to talk about Black Lives Matter. I feel like that's the conversations that we've always needed to have. I used to love having these debates when I was in school, and I had like white classmates, and the conversation in criminal justice came like, well, stop and frisk. And we're talking about, well, you know, how do you, the teacher asked the question, well, how would you guys feel as a group of black males walking down the street? And clearly it's me and like 2 other Black students that can even have a point of view in that conversation, because everybody else in the class is white. You know, it's fun though. It's cool to have that point of view. So make yourself a part of history, because again, like I've been saying in this whole vlog, we're still building it, right? We're still building it. It's 2021, but we have a lot more work to do. And that's where I leave you guys with this video. It's short and sweet, no makeup, very raw. I wanted it to be that way because I'm leaving out everything I got. But yeah, I feel good. I hope you guys are good too. What's up, guys? It's Tahyira, Savanna. You're tuned into the Tahyira Show on YouTube. If you like this vlog and my other vlogs, make sure you subscribe so you do not miss an episode like never. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for tuning in.